So, please.
Thank you very much for these two very interesting presentations. I have a question for my colleague. You said that the fact that more and more women would become teachers would lead to a shift or to a change in gender roles.
Yes.
I would put forward the proposition that it is in fact a manifestation of traditional gender roles, because this progress of women professionalization occurs in the educational sector. And if you look at students today, it occurs in the educational sector only.
Yes, you do have 80% female students and 20%, about 10% male students. I think first of all it's a new gender role for women, because before in the 19th century it was there had to be housewife, wife, mother. That were the options. So you have really a change, but I think we should have a change in the male gender role. Yes. I know that I know that discussion that of the feminization of the teacher profession in some authors tell that's the female influence is not as good for the boys in school, yes, but you can't really. There's no research where you can't bestätigen.
Provide evidence.
Provide evidence. That was
Okay.
I would have a question concerning Baden-Württemberg. I was comparing the results to Austrian history and the developments in Austria and how they were different in Baden-Württemberg. And what I find so striking is that on the one hand, Baden-Württemberg is about at the same speed as all the other countries when it comes to accepting women at university, let's say at the beginning of the 20th century. So when it comes to that, they are about on time, but when it comes to other developments, like getting rid of the church influence in the school system, they are about 100 years later than in Austria, for example, and we also were plenty Catholic. So I was curious whether you could give me a reason why this very strong influence was so particularly long in Baden-Württemberg.
It was only in Württemberg, not in Baden. It was only in Württemberg, the big influence of the churches. In Baden, it was really a conflict between the state and the church, and I found some sources where the church, in Baden, where the church tells their teacher they are not allowed to be member of the institution which can supervise the school, because the state abolished the supervising of the church. So the church said, okay, then you are not allowed to be member of this group who will supervise this school now. So that was a real conflict. But and in Baden, we have the first secular public schools in 1860. So, but not for all public. They are allowed, and there exist also Protestant and Catholic, Jewish. But why it's so.
And I'm not so familiar with specifics on school system after the unification of Germany, but wasn't at least then some kind of unification, so that the system was more the same in Prussia and in Baden and in Württemberg. Why could they stick so long to this particular religious system, almost 100 years longer?
Isn't like this every time there is a very strong denominational difference in societies? I mean, you have other states in Europe, when you
Yeah.
have, like Ireland or
Yeah.
Belgium. You
Yes,
have
yes.
a religious structure which is controlling schools
Yeah.
all the way from the 20th century.
Yeah.
And because of the strong denominational difference of the church sticks to I mean, which is,
In
in
France,
Austria,
it's
you don't
very
have that.
different.
No,
In Austria, you don't.
In Austria, they got rid of it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because you don't have the denominational
But
difference. You
could
have
we say
different
in
religions.
Austria? Could we say in Austria? Because the school councils also depended on the provincial diocese. And crime, if you look at the map in the Austrian atlas, you will see for the Austrian lands, today Austrian lands, you will see who won Catholic, Christian socialists. For the Poland, Galicia, you will see sign in the agenda, you will see Catholic parties, but for crime in Austria, you will see clericals. Clericals, typically, we were the worst clericals. Let's recognize it. But just, I was very glad to hear this paper because I thought that we wasn't the last in the modernization. What I was shocked about is celibacy.
Celibacy, yeah.
Is this until 1952?
Yes.
Is this just for the Baden-Württemberg, Baden, or because I know in German lands, for example, Matura exams are still different from land to land. It's not unique in the German states.
Celibacy was in all states in Germany.
In all states.
It was
Also
shortly time it was abolished. Yes.
Also in the Russian part.
Also in the Russian, yes, because in I think in 1920 it was abolished, but then because of the disastrous economic situation, the economic crisis, so they found a way to regulate that. Okay, because of the conditions of the female teachers, you have to quit their job now if they marry.
I have a question now for you because I believe the Hungarian part was different.
Yes.
But in this
Yeah.
case, can you tell us something about this?
In Habsburg monarchy, Austro-Hungarian monarchy, the first modern law from school in Hungarian parts Etos, 1868, and the second modern law in Austria, 1869, and this the beginning of the process of secularization in Habsburg monarchy, Austro-Hungarian monarchy. This is the separated schools from the churches, hermetics kind. This is not what Friedrich did this mean, but it's very strong secularization process. It's similar in France. The Republicans in France,
Yes,
Third
yeah.
Republic, they had the war with the Catholic Church. And,
It was called Kulturkampf.
yes, Kulturkampf in Bismarck won culture wars in Kulturkampf. Yes, the similar.
And Baden was very near to France. Saxon
and
France. Yeah.
Hungarian is the first modern law from elementary school in the Habsburg monarchy, 1868.
Could we just say that it was all the influence of those religious affairs, for example, for German lands, or you could see the difference between German lands also because of the economical factor. That, for example, I read some about Austria school system, that depends also the rate of females among the teachers, depending on the economical development of some different land, because there was not enough men to enroll to the teachers training colleges, because the new industrials, the new enterprises enable them to get bigger wages than the teachers' jobs. Could it be that, for example, in that also in some German lands depends on the economic development or some
It
different.
depends on the lack of male teachers, maybe, but I don't, I know this argument, I found this argument, but I don't think that's really the main argument, because the state regulations about the payment is until 1933 it's always different. It's always less than male. Always. They have different governance obstacles they had to overcome, and so I think they should, if this was really a good argument, they would have to do more to win women for this profession, and not to look to reduce them as possible.
Any other questions?
So also after the unification, the school system basically stayed federal legislation, so every part of Germany had its own.
Nowadays?
No,
then.
from back then until today.
Yeah, but nowadays also.
Yes.
Yes.
So they never centralized it.
It's getting worse. That's all you can say, I think.
So maybe that's kind of an answer to my question, why it's regional specific, and
in Germany we never had one German school system. Maybe during the Hitler regime, yes, but not before and not after.
What's the religious structure of Baden and Württemberg, the differences in denomination?
It's the structures differ on in the secondary system, in the secondary school system. Yes, the public school was from the church or not church, but in the secondary school we had in Baden we had a public school, and then we had some years for some kind of secondary degree. So, but only a few years more. And in Württemberg we have a tradition of Realschule, what they call Mittelschule, but they start on after the Grundschule, and they're really their own schools. So if in 1852 we had various secondary school systems, so but nowadays it's one but it takes time.
I think he asked about the
Denomination.
Nowadays,
I was interested also the denomination, the difference in Protestant and Catholics in the two different states. No, now then one state.
Baden is, I think, mostly Catholic.
Baden
Okay.
is
Baden, yes.
and the other one
And
is
Württemberg
different.
is mostly Protestant, yes.
Mainly.
Mainly.
But they're
Maybe just a question also for Hungarian university, because I also thought that in all Austrian universities was the same, but last week I heard in Prague that it also depends from the, not university, but from dean to dean, if he allowed women to enroll to the university. It was the same.
This was in Vienna, the same case.
I guess that's in Austria. From the dean to dean, that's why the same faculty in Prague University and some university could enroll to women, but in the Vienna could not. It was the same in the Hungarian part.
I don't know.
The administration of the faculty was responsible for this.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. That's the same in Russia. They had the same regulations, yeah. But not in Baden. There the youth here decided they had to allow them.
have some state act after the Second World War, something like that, to forbid, to ban totally gender segregation, because in 1946 we have in Slovenia first woman Ministry of Education, and one of the first acts she gave out was ban of men and women schools on all the levels.
Oh, that's
That means that also couldn't be like in the public schools that on the left side are sitting boys.
What the communists did everywhere, really.
I don't know, is that I don't know from Croatia.
There's also Croatia after World War II, it was a general. The end of there were all mixed school after 1945?
After 1980s.
1945.
Second World War.
Co-education in Croatia is present in elementary school all the time. It's very small towns, and co-education is the principle of the elementary education. Secondary education, the male and female gymnasium till the end of Second World War.
So after World War II there is no separation in any
Gymnasium, yes. The great gymnasium, the classic gymnasium. The real is the mixed, but in many towns, Osijek, Zagreb is female gymnasium, male gymnasium.
Not after 1945. When the communists came to power.
Yes, after Second World War.
Yes, still.
No. After Second World War, it's co-education.
Yes.
Everything is co-education.
Yes.
Immediately, right?
Yes.
Because it was in bigger cities where there are more schools of the same level, or more gymnasiums, or more real schools, or something like that. It was one was men, one was women.
In the small town,
it was education.
one gymnasium and is co-education, but in the large town, male gymnasium and female lyceum in Zagreb, for example.
But sometimes economy is more important than ideology, because in Lithuania in 1923 in Parliament was discussion could be girls secondary schools, gymnasium and boys, but ideology, Catholic ideology said yes, it must be separate. But the Lithuanian country had any money for two gymnasiums. We have co-education, but our ideology till Soviet times is that the gymnasiums must be separated.
In this pure town, the co-education, but the separate in classrooms, separate girls and boys separate in the classroom, left and right side of the classroom.
Usually they go to the back, right?
Yeah.
When?
In 19th century, elementary schools, separation in classroom.
We do have still boys and girls schools in Baden-Württemberg. Some of them, and they are run by the Catholic Church. They are private schools, and they increase in the last years. They have really no problem to fill their classes. They are well accepted, and they establish more and more of them. Parents, many parents like to do, especially boys school and girls school, because they think, they could be better educated in some subjects.
Why they work in the United States, they're still single-sex education
institutions,
and they are keeping.
In Japan, I was talking in Japan, they have women universities.
Yes, women colleges. Yes, not only in the public schools.
In the United States too. And they are not religious.
Yeah.
No.
The England is the first state who women's colleges 1869. Kitchen is the first women's college in the world. But in USA is the co-education all the time. From the beginning of the 20th century, but earlier, 19th century, the first degree in USA is...
Yeah, but there are many single-sex colleges in the United States.
Yeah.
There are.
And the female colleges are very successful. Many very...
The Seven Sisters of the North, the Seven Sisters of the South.
These are private colleges.
They're private. Yeah, they were founded by religious organizations. And now they're not religious anymore. They're just private.
They're public schools, but they're private.
Public schools, they are co-ed. Yeah, private schools, they are co-ed.
In Vienna, Mannheim Lyceum, the private boarding school for women. It's elite school, Mannheim Lyceum, in Graz, Vienna. Croatian elite sends daughters in Vienna to this boarding school. Internet.
We have a discussion about feminization of school, and this discussions that our boys results is worse and worse, and feminization is one of reason. And if we really have the school just for boys with teachers, men, the results will be better. But of course, it is just in discussion.
It's in discussion because
And if we compare the statistic at one time in Austria part of Austro-Hungarian, crime region has majority, was the first land to have more than 1/2 of the women teachers before the Second World War. Yeah. The crime was the first. Because I said, because of those clerical tradition, because when it was school system, who opposed it in the Austrian parliament, the one deputy said of the German nation said against this laws could be only stupid one, I don't know, the stupid one clericals in Tyroleans. She said, and didn't know that also, so the deputies from crime opposed it. So the result was that the Catholic Church in crime established, I think, 2 or 3 women training teachers colleges. So the majority of the came from those teachers colleges where Svista was Saint Ursula. So I think that the crime was the only who has the majority of female teachers on the primary schools before the First World War.
I have one question considering the celibacy of a female teacher. Namely, I was in the town of Wolfenbüttel in northern Germany, and there I heard an interesting fact that they found it there. There was one woman who worked a lot on the education of women, and in the 19th century, Anna Florek. And among other good things she did was that she founded a retirement home for elderly teachers, because since this celibacy law existed, their perspective in the old age was poverty. They had no family to support them, and so on. So I was wondering, was there in southern Germany, namely in Baden and Württemberg, some attempts to cope with this problem, to help them from the government or from some private benefactors?
Yeah, it's the reasons I'm told about the female and teacher associations. They were founded in 1880, about that, and the first intention of these female teacher associations was the social social support. Sorry, social support of these female teachers, because really they had no income if they were they were old and they can't teach anymore. They had no income, nothing, no social.
Didn't they get some kind of pension?
No, nothing. No, in the beginning, nothing. That's the point.
But men did, right?
Well, they fought for these female teacher associations to get lifelong employment, so then you can get some.
But male teachers got the pension.
And of course. Yeah.
Similar information.
But didn't we have in Croatia the situation that at one point the women teachers were allowed to get married, and then it was abolished during the period?
First modern law in Croatia is 1874 viceroy Ivan Mažuranić, a liberal viceroy. And when the Kuhn-Kerivari was the viceroy, 1888, the new law, and in this law
it was forbidden.
Yes, forbidden. And this 1940, the female teachers have married, but with male teachers.
Ah, okay.
It was a widespread practice, and it was really practical, especially in the villages.
In France, is very common. It's very female and male teachers traditional marriages.
I know this model from the Protestant church. Protestant priests, female and male, they often group together.
Do you think the shift is between the two worlds, between the majority or predominance of male teachers and the predominance of women's teachers? Because this is what I found in the Austrian littoral, that at least though it was Italy, I know, but because until World War I, when it was Austria, there were many, and actually mostly, male teachers. And then when World War II arrives, or right after World War II, there are, like, women's are many more than men. So is it like that interwar period crucial in this shift?
I think these years of the wars, they are changing.
The years of history.
But at the end of the wars, the old system was established.
In Croatia, after First World War, the female teacher, she's numbered. This is the break point.
Yes,
yeah.
It's connected to the war, yes.
Yeah. But First World War.
For the literal, I would argue that the system change was the main factor to change it, because as far as I know, also already in the 19th century, teachers in Italy were so poorly paid that those jobs mainly were taken by women. So in Italy, on the other hand, then in Austria, you had mainly women teaching. Meanwhile, in Austria, because it was so long closely connected to being a priest, it was mainly men. So I wouldn't say it's
so in Veneto, you mean that part, Italy?
Yeah, and since those parts came to Italy, then of course they also took over this Italian system that existed already earlier in Italy.
Okay, makes sense.
If we have no more questions,
we
deserve a coffee.